This video is sponsored by Squarespace.com, the all-in-one building website tool. Really? We'll see later. I thought the twins paradox was solved due to acceleration. Boy, was I wrong. Here's why. So you see, in the twins paradox, both the twins say they are at rest and it's the other twin that is moving with respect to them, which is accurate, by the way. As a result, they both say that it's the other twin whose clock has slowed down, so less time passes for them, which is also accurate, by the way. And therefore, both of them say it's the other twin that must be younger when they finally meet up, causing the paradox. Which is not accurate because there is no paradox. Turns out it's always the twin at the Earth who is older and the twin in the spaceship who has become younger. But how does it make sense? The situation is completely symmetrical, isn't it? This is where I thought, no, it's the turnaround that's got to be the key. Because during the turnaround, there is acceleration. And acceleration is absolute. It's not relative. You can feel the forces of acceleration. And therefore, in both cases, we know it's the sister who accelerated, not the person on the Earth. So the acceleration breaks the symmetry, solving the paradox. But wait a second. How does acceleration solve the paradox? Well, I thought that you use general relativity, where acceleration is equivalent to having gravity, and gravity can speed up the clocks. And I was very happy with that explanation for a long time, but not anymore. Why? Well, first of all, general relativity deals with curved spacetime. Here, the spacetime is pretty flat, so there's no gravity, which means that's not a real explanation. Second of all, mainly, there's a version of this experiment in which there is no acceleration whatsoever. That's right. And when I saw it for the first time, the setup where there was no acceleration, I was floored. I was like, oh my God. So a real explanation of twins paradox should be able to explain any kind of setup, including the one where there is no acceleration as well. This is what made me realize that acceleration cannot be the key. There's something deeper going on. And once I understood what that was, oh my God, I think my understanding of relativity in general deepened so much more, and I have now much more intuition about what's really going on, and that's what I want to share it. So the promise of this video is I'm not going to tell you how to resolve this paradox. Instead, we're going to discover it together. That's right. That's the promise. We're going to see exactly how to resolve the twins paradox once and for all. So if you're ready for this, let's begin. Einstein, how in the world are we going to set up a twins paradox where there is no acceleration? I mean, they have to turn around. One of them has to turn around, causing an acceleration, right? And Einstein says, Mahesh, let's just get rid of the twins. Like, what? It's the twins paradox. You're saying you get rid of the twins? Einstein reminds us that this is physics. It has nothing to do with whether there are real twins or not. So here's the setup he recommends. We have a spaceship that is always moving, so no acceleration, it was always moving, and it carries a clock, and the Earth also carries a clock. Now we're looking at things from the Earth's reference frame, so you can see the spaceship is length contracted, okay? Now, as the spaceship reaches the Earth, that's when both of their clocks sync. I have paused the animation. It didn't stop. It's always moving, okay? No accelerations, all right? And let's say the spaceship takes 20 years to reach that distant planet, okay? So our clock is gonna read 20 when that spaceship reaches the distant planet. But what will be the spaceship's clock read? Well, because of time dilation, the spaceship's clock will read less than 20. Let's just say for simple numbers, the time dilation factor is 2, so the spaceship's clock will read only 10. So let's see what it looks like. Here it goes. You can see time dilation over there, and boom, it reads 10. And now what do we see? We see that the spaceship is not going to turn back. Instead, we're going to have a second spaceship. Okay, the experiment is set up in such a way that there was another spaceship that's traveling to the left at exactly the same speed, and they meet up at that particular planet. And again, no acceleration. This spaceship has always been traveling to the left, and it has its own clock. And now what it does is that it just syncs up its clock with this one. You can imagine the two spaceships are really close to each other. I've just shown them to be a little bit apart, but they're really close. They can sync up their clocks. So now this one syncs up its clock, and now it reads 10, and it's going to be on its way back, and we're going to have the same thing. Again, another 20 years would pass on the Earth's clock, and only 10 more years would pass. So you see, eventually, when the spaceship reaches the Earth, we have 40 years. The Earth has reached 40 years, and the spaceship reads 20 years. So let's look at it one more time without pausing. Here we go. Boom, they sync up. Time dilation of factor 2, you can see that. Syncs the clocks up again. And that's the thought experiment. No acceleration whatsoever. Now, Einstein asks, Mahesh, what does the whole situation look like if you were to look at things from the spaceship's perspective? Well, if you look at things from the spaceship's perspective, well, let's first back up a little bit. All right, from the spaceship's perspective, the spaceship is at rest. It's the Earth and everything else that's moving towards it. So now the spaceship will have the proper length and everything else will be length contracted. So even the distance between them would be length contracted, okay? So now let's see what it looks like. Again, it comes towards it. The clock syncs up. Now, the question is, how long does it take for this red planet to reach the spaceship? Well, earlier it took 20 years for the planet to reach this, the spaceship to reach the planet. But now because of length contraction, the distance is only half, which means we will see 10 years go by in the spaceship's clock. But how much time will go by on the Earth's clock? Well, now since the Earth is moving, its time is dilated, so half, which means 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So let's look at it. Boom. And if you now jump into the other spaceship's reference frame, okay, we're gonna see the same thing in the opposite direction. And look, what do you see? From the spaceship's perspective, we see 20 years has passed by and only 10 years has passed on the Earth. Boom! Paradox! And what Einstein is telling is, look, right in front of your eyes, we have no acceleration and yet there's a paradox. So definitely there should be some way to resolve it which does not involve acceleration, general relativity, gravity whatsoever. How do you do that? Okay, let's first examine things carefully. The first thing you can see is that in both the cases, we agree on the spaceship's clock. In both cases, we agree the spaceship is going to be aging by the same amount, 20 years. What we disagree on is the clock on the Earth. But we know that can't be true because there is no real paradox. We know that this is actually what happened and this is wrong, but we don't know why that is wrong. And therefore, what we need to figure out is, where did the missing 30 years go? That is now the central problem that we need to figure out, okay? So Einstein, clearly we made a mistake over here, but what exactly? I mean, we did consider length contraction and time dilation, right? Well, Einstein says in a previous video, he actually explained what the mistake was, but it was very hard to accept it. So it wasn't that intuitive. And therefore in this video, and you don't have to watch that video, by the way. So in this video, he's gonna not tell us what the answer is, but he's gonna make us rediscover it all by ourselves, which is what is exciting me over here. And by the way, I know even this video, you're gonna have a ton of questions, and therefore I built a physics website where we'll tackle all of them. And Einstein is shocked. He's asking, Mahesh, how in the world did you build a physics website with zero website building experience and in just a few hours? Well, Einstein, I used squarespace.com, the sponsor of this video. And you'll see how to build one for free as well. Now, I was a little skeptical. I have no experience in building websites. So I asked Squarespace, okay, how do I get a domain? Well, there was a button that said get a domain. Clicked on it, searched for FloatHeadPhysics.com. It was available, bought it, and boom, just like that, I bought a domain. And it also comes with WHOIS privacy, which is incredible. You don't have to pay extra for it. Okay, but now I had to build a website and I was thinking, should I do portfolio or should I do a blog? And how would I even do that? Well, there's a button which said create a website. And most importantly, it had all the pre-built templates. So I just clicked on portfolio, selected a template. I got a pre-made portfolio website for me. And now all I had to do is just customize it, and everything is hyper customizable. And I now built a blog within that. And within a few hours, after changing some images and tinkering around, I had my website ready. I now think Squarespace lives up to its name. It's truly a one-stop solution for everybody. So if you ever thought about creating your own portfolio or maybe a science website and you want to start for free, go to squarespace.com/FloatHeadPhysics. And bonus, if you want to save 10% on your first purchase, just use the promo code FloatHeadPhysics. Now, back to the video. So Einstein, how do we discover what the mistake is? And Einstein says, all we got to do is relook at the same experiment, but this time we're going to attach a giant rope to that spaceship, and at the end of it, there's going to be a flag. Now Einstein reminds us that this rope you're looking at is length contracted because it's moving, right? We're looking at things from the Earth's reference frame, all right? So the proper length from the spaceship's perspective, the rope is going to be twice as big, okay? Remember that. Anyways, now let's look at the experiment one more time. So there's a synchronization of the clock. And then Einstein says, now here's a key moment. When this piece of the rope is right on top of the Earth reads 5 o'clock. That's why it is marked as 5 over here. But Einstein, why is that the key moment? Einstein reminds us that in relativity, everything is relative. So the key to building intuition is figuring out things that are not relative, that are invariant, okay? One, you probably already know, is the speed of light. It's invariant. It's the same in all reference frame. Another one, something that is invariant, are events that are happening at the same location and the same time. Everybody in every single frame will agree with them. This means that regardless of what frame I use to look at the situation, everyone will agree that when this piece of rope is right on top of Earth, the Earth's clock should read 5 o'clock because they're at the same location and at the same time. Okay, that's why that's a key event. That's why this marker is there. It's going to be important for us. I'm like, okay, cool. Now let's look at the whole situation. Let's continue and see what we get. Now we get the second key event where both the flags reach the Earth. Notice the rope is having the exact same length in this frame such that when they reach the planet, the flags reach the Earth. And again, because these are the flag reaching the Earth and the Earth clock reading 20 is the same event happening at the same time, again, everybody will agree that when the flags reach the Earth's clock should read 20 years. So that's the second key moment to remember. I'm like, okay, cool. And you can probably predict there's a third key moment coming in. Here we go. That's when we're almost at the end of the journey and this piece of rope is right on top of the Earth or below the Earth. Again, when this piece of rope is over here, everyone will agree that Earth's age should be 35 years. All right. And of course, finally, when we meet, we have the 20 and the 40. How is this going to help me resolve the paradox now? Einstein says, well, let's back up a little bit to a point where both the spaceships, meet each other at that red planet. And let's look at the same situation where they are meeting each other at the red planet from the spaceship's perspective, from both the spaceships' perspective separately. And I did it, and that truly helped me realize what the mistake was, where the missing 30 years was, and boy, was I pleasantly surprised to have discovered it. And so I want you to take the opportunity to pause the video and see if you can discover it as well. This is the climax, folks. Here we go. So just look at things from the spaceship's perspective, do the length contraction right, and you will get it. You will get it. Okay, so please pause and try. All right, let's do this. So first we look at things from this spaceship's perspective. What you're seeing on the top is the Earth's frame. And now in the bottom, we'll do this spaceship's frame. From its frame, it is at rest, and it's the Earth and the planet and everything else that's moving towards the left, which means this will be length contracted. And since the spaceship is at rest, its rope will now, its proper length is twice as big, remember? So what would it look like when we consider length contraction properly? Look, what we find is that when the spaceship has reached over here, the 5 marker is right on top of Earth. That's why it was a key moment. That means the clock on the Earth, the spaceship will say the clock on the Earth is not 20, it is 5. And that is really, really satisfying because we saw the same result earlier. When you think in terms of time dilation, we get the same effect. The time dilation factor is 2, so 10 years has passed on the clock, on the spaceship's clock, and only 5 years has passed on the Earth's clock. But what you're seeing is that now we're looking at it from another perspective over here. But now Einstein says, Mahesh, let's do the same thing from this perspective, this spaceship's perspective. Let's do this. Here's the climax. Here we go. So we're going to look at it from this spaceship's perspective. Again, length contracted because everything is now moving to the right. And now when we look at its proper length, what do we see? We see that the 35 marker now comes over here, which means from this spaceship's perspective, the clock on the Earth is not 5, it is 35. Now at this point, I know there will be a lot of questions like what the hell is going on and how does that make any sense and what does it mean and all of those things. I too have those questions. We'll tackle them all together. Don't worry about it. But remember, this is what it's organic. We're getting this result just from length contraction. And now you can see there is that missing 30 years. So before we get into all the questions of what the hell is really going on, let's just look at the same things from the spaceship's perspective one more time and see if we get the missing 30 years. So here we go. From the spaceship's perspective, syncs up, we reach the planet, the clock's 10, and now when we go from this spaceship to this spaceship, this clock reading should change to 35. That's the mistake that we had. And now, as we go forward, another 10 years passes, only 5 years passes on the Earth clock, and we get the same result. Paradox resolved. And so even from the spaceship's perspective, we agree it's the moving Earth that has aged more. But that now brings us to the central question, how does it make any sense? right? Einstein, are you saying that when I jump from this spaceship to this spaceship, Earth suddenly magically ages by 30 years? How does that make any sense? Like, that doesn't make any physical sense. And Einstein counter argues and asks me a counter question. Einstein asks, Mahesh, when you jump from this spaceship to this spaceship, Earth also changes its velocity. It goes from moving to the left at very high speed and it switches instantly to moving to the right at a very high speed. How can that be? How does that make any physical sense? Earth can't do that, right? And that's where it hits me. That's where I'm like, oh my God, this kind of starting to make sense now. See, we agree that velocity is a relative concept. Different people will have different opinions about something's velocity, and that's okay because it's relative. That doesn't mean that something is happening to the Earth. Velocity is relative. And Einstein just takes it to the next level. And Einstein says, buddy, if velocity is relative, just like that, you will see even the age of the planet is relative. So from this perspective, the age of the planet is 5 years. But from this perspective, at that same moment right now, the age of the planet is 35 years. And Einstein says this is what we call relativity of simultaneity. If you think about it, if you look at things from the Earth's perspective, when the spaceships have reached the distant planet, at the same time, the flags have reached the Earth. So this is the present. But from this spaceship's perspective, look, it has reached the distant planet, but the Earth is yet to reach the flag. That's why it reads only 5. This event is in its future. It has yet to happen. However, from this spaceship's perspective is the exact opposite. When it reaches the planet, it says, look, Earth has already finished reaching the flag and it has come over here. So this event has already happened. It's in the past. All that has already happened, and that's why it has reached over here. This is relativity of simultaneity, which basically says, if you think about events that are far away, different people will have different opinions about their age and, whether it's happening right now, what's happening right now. That's the weirdest, freakiest thing about relativity. But wait a second, Einstein. As I'm mulling over this, I have another question. Well, you see, it's while changing the frame from here to here, that's when the Earth jumped. So if it was a real twin, it was during the acceleration, the Earth's age jumps. So isn't acceleration really the key? Why do you say acceleration doesn't matter? Well, Einstein says, well, okay, acceleration causes change of frame. Change of frame causes relativity of simultaneity. And relativity of simultaneity causes the resolution to the paradox. So the root cause is relativity of simultaneity. But more importantly, folks, we are now able to see deeply why these paradoxes arise in the first place. They arise because we only think about time dilation. That's the one that gets all the rave, all the hype and everything, and we don't think about anything else. And of course we say it's paradox. But Einstein shows that if you consider all the effects of relativity, not just time dilation, length contraction, and relativity of simultaneity, regardless of how mind-boggling it is, if you consider all the 3 effects, all of them, you will see there is no paradox. And that's why it's important to think about relativity of simultaneity and not just brush off and say acceleration is the answer. So this is how you truly solve the twins paradox. But folks, we're not done over here yet. I promised you complete intuition. So I have one last counterattack. You ready? Einstein, this just cannot be true. Because what you're saying is that these folks are seeing the Earth as it is at 35 years. They can just tell the people on this particular ship, and now these people know the future of the Earth. That's got to break something. That can't be true, right? And what Einstein replies to this is the final nail in the coffin, folks. This is the one that's going to truly keep you thinking for a long time. Are you ready? Okay, Einstein says, Mahesh, I never said that they will see the Earth to be 35 years and 5 years. Because remember, light takes time to reach from here to here or from here to here. So what they see will be something less than that, right? In fact, they will both see the same thing because they're at the same location. If they had a giant camera and they took a snapshot of it, you know what age Earth they will see? They will see the Earth's age to be, if you do the math, 2.7 and 2.7 years. Okay, they would say the same thing, and yet they would interpret and disagree on the current age of the Earth. And I'm like, how? If they're looking at the same photo, why would they disagree on currently what the age of the Earth is? Here's how, says Einstein. Here's the climax. Okay, if you look at things from these people's perspective, they would say that, hey, Earth is moving away from them. So this photo, which was taken in the past, it must have happened when the Earth was closer. So if they do the animation and they go a little bit backwards, this is when the photo was, this is when the light originated from the Earth. So when the light originated, Earth was much closer to them. And therefore that particular photo or that particular light must have traveled not much. It's a very recent photo. It's a very recent light. It doesn't travel a lot, right? As a result, when they do the math, they will say, hey, that means the Earth's current age cannot be much more. And therefore, when they do the math, they get the Earth's current age to be just 5 years. But what about these people? They will say, that's not what happened. From these people's perspective, the Earth is coming towards them. Therefore, when the photo was sent, the Earth was farther away, much farther away, much farther away. That's what they say. So that photo was sent long time back. That photo has been traveling for a long time. That light has been traveling for a long time. And therefore, the Earth's current age, oh my God, it must be much larger than 2.7. When they do the math, they get it to be 35 years. So this is how they both see the same photo. Of course, not exactly the same. It will be Doppler shifted a little bit. But if you ignore that, this is how they both see the same photo. And yet, they will disagree. They will keep fighting with each other about the age of the universe. But they will not be able to give each other any new information or anything else. All they would be doing is fighting and saying, hey, this people are saying Earth is going away from me, and this will be saying, no, Earth is coming towards me, and they'll be fighting about how long that photo has been traveling, and all of that is relative, and that's okay. Nothing breaks the universe. I know this is a truly mind-boggling concept, and perhaps this quote will help you. That no inherent meaning can be assigned to the simultaneity of distant events is the single most important lesson to be learned from relativity. I will leave you with this quote, and I want you to tell me whether you have gained a much deeper intuition behind special relativity. See you.